war fears erupt. The US send nuke bombers and NATO jets to warn Russia. The US and 20 NATO countries took part in a large operation in a stark warning to Russia. According to CNN's international diplomatic editor Nick Robertson, Operation Allied Sky aimed to show NATO's credibility of common defense and enhanced readiness. It comes 2 weeks ahead of US President Joe Biden's planned summit with Russia's leader Vladimir Putin. The NATO jets and US nuke bombers flew over NATO's 30 member states to showcase their air superiority, according to The Sun. Video footage shows a US Air Force B-52 Stratofortress refueling near Scotland on a flight from Spain before returning to the operation. The footage depicts an RAF Typhoon jetting up into the sky over the UK to escort the US aircraft. According to Air Force Technology, Jeff Harrigan, NATO Allied Air Command and USAFE AFAFRICA Commander General said, "Bomber missions demonstrate the credibility of our forces to address a global security environment that is more diverse and uncertain than at any other time in our history. Today's mission is an awesome demonstration of NATO air superiority, and together there is no challenge we cannot tackle." The countries which took part in the operation were Belgium, Bulgaria, Canada, France, Germany, Greece, Hungary, Italy, Croatia, Czech Republic, Denmark, Spain, Netherlands, Norway, Poland, Portugal, Slovakia, Turkey, Romania, and the UK. In another show of strength to Russia, last Friday British forces led a series of missions with the HMS Queen Elizabeth ahead of its trip to the Black Sea. The huge aircraft carrier was accompanied in Portugal by 19 NATO warships from the US and 8 other allied nations as part of Operation Steadfast Defender. The mission included submarines, destroyers and frigates, and was joined with support from the RAF's new F-35B Lightning stealth fighters. The exercise is expected to last until June 22nd. Commander of the UK Carrier Strike Group, Commodore Steve Morehouse, called the mission a hugely powerful statement. Earlier this week, Foreign Secretary Dominic Raab called on NATO to work together to tackle the threat of hostile states like Russia. The first meeting of NATO leaders since 2019 will take place later this month. Meanwhile, at 27,000 feet, somewhere over the edge of the UK, there's little room for error. The US were refueling a B-52 that was conducting a NATO op in the NATO airspace. Captain Todd Berglund explains aboard a KC-135 Stratotanker, one of the US Air Force's air refueling craft. The US pretty much just try to make sure that enabling their mission and they can do whatever they need to do. The operation can take between 15 minutes and an hour and requires intense coordination between the crew of both aircraft. They both reduce their speed to a mere 316 miles per hour and sync up their movements, allowing a boom to descend from the KC-135 and connect to an opening on the top of the B-52, pumping thousands and thousands of gallons of fuel in minutes. The complicated endeavor is made to look seamless by these airmen, who have done it many times before. As the refueling was taking place, 2 British Royal Air Force RAF jets, a Typhoon and a Training Hawk 1, shadowed the encounter, practicing for when enemy aircraft come into UK airspace. They'll practice a lot of the intercepts, so if they need to do it operationally, they know what it's like coming up if a country's plane comes into their airspace and how to go about that, Captain Berglund explained. While the interception by RAF aircraft over British skies was merely practice, when the US Air Force flies over parts of Eastern Europe, the Baltic or the Black Sea, it is frequently met by Russian aircraft. It's for moments like those that Captain Berglund and his crew are training. Stuff can happen pretty quick. It's hard to predict how busy the airspace is, how busy the radios are, if other jets are going to be out there, he says. In the past decade, several encounters with Russian jets have been deemed unsafe by the US military, calling out its Russian counterparts for unprofessional and dangerous actions. It's part of a pattern of behavior by both sides that is reminiscent of the Cold War era, when the US and the then Soviet Union would test each other constantly, prodding defenses in search of potential weaknesses. While the US is flying its B-52s over Europe, Russia last week deployed 3 of its Tu-22M bombers to HMEY-MIM airbase in Latakia, Syria. The Tu-22, also known as Backfire, has flown over Syria many times in recent years, as Russia stepped in to help President Bashar al-Assad during the country's civil war. However, in the past they always flew from their bases in Russia. Their deployment to HMEY-MIM is a first, and part of a larger Russian commitment to the region, where it is also investing millions in expanding the Tartus naval base after agreeing a long-term lease with the Syrian government.